would you like to make a closing statement?
What I'd like to say is that I had a great opportunity to go to the town meeting for 3 days, and I really want to commend this board and the administrator and Holly and the advisory board for the excellent job you people did of getting through this crisis. It took guts, courage to stand up and do what you did to lead this community out of darkness. And as a selectman and as an administrator, I just have phenomenal admiration for what you people did, and you stood the ground, you didn't back down, and the town respected that. I heard a lot of positive responses from people over the 3-day period of the transition. I just wanted to say publicly that I'd be honored to work with this board. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We will move on with our agenda. Is Mr. I don't see Mr. Hubbard. Is he? Oh, you're here for him? Okay. At this time, we have a request that Memorial Street be changed to a one-way, and we have a representative from Mr. Hubbard who is here to speak.
Hi, my name is Ron Imadon. I'm on the Board of Trustees for the Memorial Congregational Church. And when the reconstruction process started on Memorial Street, everybody in the church was very happy to see that the street certainly needed it. But the current configuration is only 22 feet wide from curb to curb. In the past, the configuration was approximately a 25-foot road plus shoulders, and you were able to park on one side of the road and still get two-way traffic through no problem. With the new designs, they had to make sure the handicapped accessibility was able to get through. In order to do that, on the north side of the street, you have a return sidewalk to make that crossing. In reducing it to 22 feet, there is now no parking on that street, and that would shut the church down. We couldn't do it. We have, as you can imagine, most of the congregation is elderly, even older than me, which I know it's hard. Wow. But it's, you know, the church has probably 30 or 40, 50 people on a Sunday there. And the community suppers that we put on for the people that are needing, probably 50 to 100, depending upon, you know, the time of season. If we don't have parking on that street, it's going to just shut us down. There's no place close by that you can park and then walk there effectively. So, looking at the progress, it's moving along pretty quick. We thought we needed to come before you now to ask to turn it into a one-way street before the contractor goes out and spends money on all the signage, does the final paving and striping. It's really time now to do that to save a little bit more money in the signage and the markings on the road. It's really a safety and I guess an accessibility issue. Accessibility for the church, safety for the parishioners and the people that live on the street. If you come out of the street towards the center of town where the common is, and you try to look north, you've got quite an embankment right there, and it's very difficult to see traffic coming at you. In the final design, there'll be 5-foot high block walls on either side of that, which will reduce your vision even more. So we feel it's important to the town, the residents on the street, and the church. So we don't know what it is we can do to help you to move that forward, but we felt it was important to ask the question now.
Chief Whitaker, do you have an opinion on the topic?
So it came up kind of quickly, but I would agree with the fact that it would be a wise move to make it a one-way street. The only question or the only concern I would have, or recommendation I would have, is that we do some type of a neighborhood survey real quickly, canvass the residents on the street. Whether we hold a public hearing or we do a flyer or handout saying, we're looking for your input by this date, contact my office, contact the selectman's office, or if you would like to hold a public hearing, just to hear their concerns.
I think there's some residents have already begun that
Yeah,
process.
two of us canvassed the street about 3 weeks ago, and we went to 18 homes. 12 homes had no problem at all whatsoever. One was undecided. There were 3 no contacts. People went home when we went through, and there's 2 vacant homes. So the majority of the people on the street are all for it.
I think it's a win-win situation.
My name's Mike Foran, I'm a resident of Memorial Street, and I can say that, living on the street, this affects me just as much as it would affect anybody else there. But getting out of that intersection was already difficult prior to the construction, and now looking at it, now that it's starting to be buttoned up, it seems like a wise choice, and it seems like a lot of people in the neighborhood are on board with it, because it really does bottleneck the end of the street, makes it a little bit more difficult to get out of there in the morning, and it's kind of dangerous.
I'm also a resident on the street. I've been there for 32 years, and it's not getting any better to get out of there. So every year there's more traffic, and it becomes more of a hassle to get out of there. Whether you're going north or south. I mean, if there's cars parked in front of the church on Elm Street, you can't see down to make the left turn. So it's becoming more
So
hazardous.
it would be one way up Memorial, and then it would go on to
On Summer Street.
Summer to, okay, I'm just trying to picture that in my head, I'm sorry.
Right. I just had a question about fire.
We don't have a problem with it.
You don't have a problem with it, okay. The other issue is the volume of traffic that's increased on Pleasant Street since the Dunkin' Donuts went in. So they're all coming into that one area. I don't have a problem with it if this is what people in the neighborhood are willing to do this. I very rarely go down Memorial School on that, I live in that section of town. So, so long as the safety issues, if it's not a concern with, fire EMS, is it a concern for police?
My only concern, it's not a concern other than the public notification. I
Okay.
really do think there should be some form of public notification.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with what you've done.
Right.
I just think something should come out from the select board or my office saying, this is our intent. If you have any objection, if you do, please contact us.
Right.
That can be done pretty rapidly.
Yeah, I personally think that a public hearing would obviously be a good idea, so that everyone has the, and also to protect the town as well, to make sure that we're
Right.
doing all due diligence that one would think. Should a conflict or problem arise, we want to have the opportunity for anyone who may think of a problem that we don't think of, to be able to comment and to voice that concern to us. So this particular, is this, and excuse my ignorance, but is this, that parcel is covered by the project that's going on
Correct.
with the
Yes.
grant? Will there be any impact or change orders that would be, that this change would necessitate?
No.
I guess, I don't know if that's a,
No, it's a very good question, and no, there isn't. We've already spoken to Mr. Ping Pong,
okay,
and he's fully on board with it. He said it's entirely up to the residents.
okay.
He thought it was a good idea. I build roads for a living, that's, I'm civil construction. And the church asked me to look at the design when the project first started to see if there was another way to tweak the design to make it work, and there really isn't. Because of the handicapped accessibility and that return sidewalk on the north side. Now, unfortunately, we have what we have in order to meet today's criteria. I wouldn't want to see it go backwards. And the only way that we see to accomplish the two things, which is to provide safe egress up and down that street and not shut the church down, would be to make it one way. I couldn't find another way. I've been through these drawings a lot.
What
Yes,
about
sir.
parking? Which side would you suggest parking?
On the north side.
North side, okay. The non-sidewalk.
Would I have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Would it be appropriate to have a public hearing and the church host it in the hall? That way people can actually see what's there and what the issues are?
We don't normally hold public hearings
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that would be my only concern, was that's not our usual practice. Right, is this a possible suggestion?
The church could certainly do their own their own gathering with.
Oh, right.
Right, which I'm sure that you've already talked about this, as you've all talked about it, but it's just a matter of going through the right motions.
We're open every Sunday, you're more than welcome to come.
Thank you.
And we do have a church supper coming up, which is really, really good.
I would, if the board would like to, if anyone would like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing regarding the reconfiguration of Memorial Street into a one-way street, and possibly inviting Mr. Pinktank to be a part of that as well.
I will make that motion. Sure. I would like to know, like, what our turnaround time is before the road is finished, and,
Mike can
they
answer
put
that
the-
best.
They put the granite in for the sidewalk, so they're
Right,
running
they're
right
doing the
along.
other side now,
Yeah.
yeah, they're moving very quickly.
Yeah,
Well, I think our only biggest concern is gonna be signage.
Sure.
We may, what we could do is if we schedule it now, possibly to hold in correlation with our next Board of Selectmen meeting so that we could take immediate action after. And then we could notify perhaps Mr. Pinktank tomorrow and kind of let him know that, by the way, this is something that has come up and we've scheduled public hearings on it. Because that would give him then a good opportunity to also give us any input or things that we haven't thought of. And then I'm sure he's a smart guy, in the back of his head, he will think like, oh, maybe we should.
And
This
he-
may be
yeah.
something that we want to communicate, this is a
That's
possibility.
exactly right. And he is aware that that potential is coming,
Okay.
because we told him we were gonna approach the town. And I think their meetings are typically Fridays, so a phone call tomorrow would be in order. And then he could tell the contractor at Friday's meeting to put just the signage on hold before they go do the purchase.
yeah, because our next meeting is June 9th. That's our next scheduled meeting.
It's when?
June 9th.
June 9th.
Does the ad have to go on the paper for the public hearing?
Yes.
Is it a 2-week, I know? Does anyone know?
Yeah, isn't it?
10 or 10
Probably
days,
is.
10 days, 10 days.
Oh, so if it's 10 days, then we're okay.
They usually want 4 days notice.
Oh, the paper?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, duh.
And you can get it in the public news section too, as well, pretty quick.
The home news.
The home news.
But that's not
It's not
that's not an
official.
official
Yeah.
hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Not to make it more complicated, but what about Summer Street? Is there room at the end of Summer Street and Memorial Street for somebody going the wrong way to turn around before the chief gives them a ticket? Or do you want to make that short section of Summer Street, make it all one way to get to Pleasant Street?
Or you have the other end of Memorial that they can turn around.
Is there enough room down there for somebody to turn around if they realize they're going the wrong way?
Yeah, there should be.
Yeah, you got
At the end,
Memorial Street
right?
extension.
At the very end,
They can
yep,
turn
there
around.
is.
Okay,
So that'll be 2-way?
just a thought, that's all.
Just to hang out in that neighborhood.
You know, is there, does it have to be 10 days at a time?
Hasn't changed.
For the public hearing?
Yeah.
Can we just,
It does.
schedule, I don't know if I can come, but
Yeah.
can we just schedule a meeting for, like, just for this
We would-
because it's important, or?
Right, but
The 11th
it's
and the 12th.
It's the
posting.
timing, right?
It's the timing.
Because
So
it'll be tomorrow,
the
it's gonna
9th,
be,
As long as we put the signage on hold, we'll be okay.
Yeah, and
As long
I think
as
the
we
Gardner
can-
News would give you a break on the 4 days too, they're pretty sensitive about that stuff.
I got yelled at via email a couple of times, but
There used to be a hospital on that building. Hospital on that street, did you know that?
they could.
So, do we feel
We don't have enough people
that,
for
so if it's not the
another-
9th, would the 16th, the day after would the 16th be a better option, do you think, Holly?
House on the right-hand side, well down across from Wells Road.
I mean, I can try to email her tomorrow and ask her to get it right in there, but.
Okay, so we can ask, if we can't get it published in time, then then we can put it on for the 16th.
Okay,
June
so I'll
9th
try.
Or
to-
16th.
Yeah, that's smart, you have a plan in, so.
Yeah, so then we'll be all set.
16, whichever Holly can.
Yeah, whichever Holly can, so now the pressure's on you.
When you
Maybe we can get Denise Andrews to call the Gardner News for us.
Maybe,
When you type up the public hearing notice, make sure I get a copy and I'll have my patrol guys hand deliver one to every resident on the street.
Okay,
Oh, that'd be great.
Hand it to everyone, what?
On the street.
on the street.
Does it affect people on Pleasant Street, though?
Yeah, we can do.
So
we
you
can
have to
actually
kind of
the whole
do
neighborhood.
everyone, right? Not just
Yeah, the
Memorial
traffic
Street,
impact
correct?
is gonna be very long.
Yeah.
Well, I have a first, oh, sorry.
Except for Sunday.
I have a first, did I have a second?
A second.
Okay, got a second. Any further discussion on the hearing? Yes, sir.
You may just want to have Bud at the hearing.
Oh, yes.
Is someone gonna email
Hi, Julie.
Michael Ping Pang?
And,
I will.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I will as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there any further discussion regarding the scheduling of the public hearing? Okay, if not, we'll vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So thank you. So we'll see you either on the 9th or the 16th, and we'll be there.
And Mr. Chase is also aware of our desire.
Oh, good.
I spoke with him, so
No,
it's
it's
not,
Oh, great.
very good.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. The next item that we have on our agenda that we have not yet covered is to discuss and reaffirm the authority that's given to the tax title custodian. So this is authority that was already given. This is authority that was already given to the tax title custodian regarding the sale of 4 pieces of property. This is separate from the tax titles. The tax titles have a different different custodian, which is Kate, correct? These are ones that we elected Holly as to be the tax title custodian for these 4 properties. These are properties that previously the town has foreclosed on and now has ownership of. There is an auction that is scheduled for this Thursday at 10 a.m. And we believe that there will be several bidders there. But the tax title custodian does have a lot of authority. They're the person who is actually there carrying out the auction. They will be responsible for the bidding process. And also, as with all auctions, we are not required to accept the lowest or the highest bid, excuse me, if there's no bid that we feel is appropriate. And that authority will lie on the tax title custodian, at least preliminarily, to decide at that time whether or not that she will award it at that time, or maybe have a 7-day period where she can confer with Bob or the board regarding. So given the amount of responsibility that this position has, Holly had requested, which and I think is a good idea, perhaps, for people at home, or maybe who didn't, realize at the time that this was happening, that now I would be happy to accept a motion to kind of reaffirm the authority of Holly Young as our tax title custodian to carry out the auction and sale of these 4 properties. Again, she was already given that authority on March 10th, but as the auction approaches, we would like to reaffirm and also make aware to the rest of the board. Holly put together its Mass General Laws, Chapter 60, Section 77B, outlines the authority of the tax title custodian. And it is a pretty sweeping, broad power. So she just wanted to make us all aware of that, and possibly if somebody would make a motion to reaffirm her in that position.
I would like to make
sure.
that motion. I made it the first time, and I have the utmost confidence in Holly.
And
I will second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Holly, thanks for taking the time to look all that up and to bring that back to our attention.
And that's always the sign of a good public servant too. When they find out how much power they have, they're like, "Are you sure?" As opposed to being like, "Give it to me, give it to me." So, so we have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we can vote. Julie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
and I will vote yes as well. So thank you, Holly. We've already discussed surplus property. The next item that we have on the agenda, we're almost done, is the town office move. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us the properties that are involved in this?
Yep, it was.
17 River Road, 335 South Main Street, Turner Lane, and Pale Factory Road. There's no numbers on those.
Yep.
Is
Just
it
lots.
just parcels of lots?
Mhm.
One's a house.
Are they buildable
Street's a
lots, or
house,
is there
two
homes
houses.
involved, or don't you know?
I don't know. It depends on what they want to do when they buy it.
No, but I mean, are they over an acre or 2?
Yes. Most of them are.
Yep. And then obviously the information regarding the auction and whatnot was published as required by law. So regarding the town office move, do we have an update regarding the status of that? I know that some individuals were there.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit
Sure,
about that.
that'd be great.
We did have a number of volunteers there on Saturday where we started doing some cleanup and, and getting things ready. We've pretty much got one room ready to paint at this point. I kind of need to get the board's feeling, or should get the board's feeling. Here's some ideas that have, come together. We've got like 3 plans, so I don't know if the board wants to be involved at this level of decision making, or if we want to have just Bob step into this role. I mean, it really is kind of an administrative function. How do we want to lay, the offices out together? Who's going to take what room? What departments are we going to time together in one room to utilize, perhaps to best utilize a common administrative assistant. So again, that's kind of one of the first things that I think we need to talk about. Do we want to be involved at this level, or do we want Bob to just take over that role? The second piece that kind of need to talk a little bit about too is the phones and communications. Because if we're going to move forward with this type of stuff, we do have to get things on order. I mean, we can't wait to the last minute and order internet lines and develop a phone system. And again, I don't know if the board is interested in that kind of level of detail, or if we just want, I can certainly give all this information to Bob and let him make those decisions. I do have all the information. I can talk and answer questions. But we need to, I guess the board really needs to decide at what level do we want to be involved, or what level do we want Bob to be involved.
Yes.
I think that, I would like to know all of this stuff, but I think that we would just hold up the process and not, be able to move quickly, and time currently is of the essence. So I think that these days, obviously, if it comes to spending money, I mean, the town administrator knows what we have and what we don't, because we don't have much. So,
Yes,
I-
sir.
And also,
I would
we
say
were,
no.
we were there on Thursday for a period of time, and I think we have a consensus as to how the rooms are going to be
Right.
divided up, so.
Are any of, like, the department heads, like, did they come, or are they just gonna be kind
Some
of
were there, there
told
was
where
some
they're gonna go?
disagreement. Some were there, and there's some disagreement. But,
Okay.
I looked right at her too.
Some of us
Well, it's unfortunate with the people that only have one person in their office that they have to shut down in order to go
come over,
anywhere,
yeah.
which is really sad, but, I mean, not everyone's gonna agree all the time on everything, but I've always felt that it's important to include them and give them the information, so.
And I know for me personally, at least, I kind of second that. I would, of course, as a select person, be like, would like to be CC'd on everything,
Yeah.
just so I'm in the loop and can kind of just peruse anything in case anyone in the public has any questions or concerns. I have some knowledge, but I am more than comfortable with allowing our town administrator to take on the role of kind of deciding the best way to set that up, because I definitely do not have any experience in setting up town halls, so, and will not claim to. So, and the same with obviously all of the provider, for us to kind of sit here and go through every potential service provider and how it would fit, how the effect of one contract would affect, what we do with the boiler and all. It would kind of, I think, as Diane said, I feel that having day-to-day select board involvement, and having to wait. Obviously, we probably only will have 2, maybe 3 more select board meetings between now and when we have to be operating in this building. So I don't know as if there would really be time to have select board. I mean, I'm sure that we will revisit it, obviously, at every meeting between now and when we move in, but, yes, sir.
Now, we got council on agent stuff parked there all the time in the little parking lot. Now, like tonight, you had a meeting, where are they gonna park the vehicles? You got cars out here tonight. Ever consider that? You got about 6 council on agent vehicles parked. A little parking lot in the front and the side.
Yeah, put them all back.
And have to put them out back or something, some way.
In the
For
back.
board meetings?
You know what I'm saying?
I don't even think we should
Yeah,
have
that
any.
space in the back There's a fence right now at the parking lot where all the COA vans are, there's a fence at the end of that.
I know where
parking lot.
I've been in there.
We'll
But
take
that's the
that,
swamp.
yeah, we'll take that fence down.
the
Again, it's a
playground
grassy
is, where-
area at this point, but that's
Where
where,
the kids' playground stuff is?
no, it'd be more in that grassy area, not all the way as far as the playground stuff.
That fence is way back on the little small street, and you've gotta go all, and you
No,
go.
not that
Oh,
fence,
there's a
not the
fence
fence way
before
back there.
that, like
There's-
almost right behind, where you would let out the back of the building. There's like a fence right there
Yeah.
still.
Right.
So that part of it was fenced in. That's, yeah, my kids were just there playing like 2 days ago, so the fence is still there. So you just have to take that down. And there is definitely area right there.
Does anyone else have any comments about this before?
I would just say, I've moved several times when I had a real job. And cheaper, when it comes to phone service and internet isn't always better. We ran into several problems, so, I mean, as much as we don't have money, I'd like to see it just be done right the first time and to go with a company who really can, like, service you and in the long run, not just short term. So that's my only thought on that.
Yeah, that's the way I'm, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
I was
interested in
looking
doing
at some of this
the
and the
VoIP
differences
system.
are
Yeah.
astronomical, but,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I've
And my
only had
recommendation
experience
is-
with Swift-Tech, so, you know, other
Yeah,
than
and they're
that.
more of a local
Yeah.
company, so
Yeah.
that's why, you know, they're my recommendation, even though they're not
Yeah.
the lowest. Because
Okay.
they're local, they offer a lot more
Yeah,
services, education, planning, where all of these others are
Right.
really just,
Okay.
here's a video on how to do it, you know, help
Right.
yourself.
right.
Which is not always good. These types of systems though, they're cloud-based, which is, that's the type of technology that a town of our size is really geared for, because we don't have a technical person on staff, we're not gonna have, you know, any kind of IT department or technical department. So using these cloud-based services takes care of all of that, it builds your redundancy that we would never be able to afford to do. So when things do go down, at least they keep running, you know, so. But I will give you all the stuff and kind of talk in details.
Just one other item that I'm going to be focusing on. We have an issue with the handicap ramp. Having it constructed in time is probably not possible. As you know, we've asked for a waiver. It was denied. Then they said to us that we're not going to be able to have a hearing until July. But today, there was a phone call, which I didn't take, Holly took it today, saying that they understand the importance of timing and that they're going to give us a hearing sooner in June. So that, you know, I'll go to that hearing and probably should take some others to make the case that A, we've appropriated the funds for the handicap ramp, B, it's going to be built, need a little time.
Yeah.
And we're not sure we can get it done by July 1. Also, we have some requirements from the water department for turning on the water, and you know, I'm going to try and work through those with them so that we can get that service turned on as soon as possible.
Speaking of that, speaking of the water now, how much are we paying the water department to have water in the cemetery? Has anybody got any, well, there's no water in the cemeteries,
Templeton.
not in the cemeteries. How much are we paying, like, why can't they put the water on just for the cemetery? They wouldn't go over to Scout Hall to put it on, we've asked them 6 weeks ago. They wouldn't go over to put it on, that's pretty stubborn. They'll go on and turn them on and blow all the pipes, that's what'll happen.
Is there any?
They're like in the cemetery, no water in the cemeteries.
I heard that that's not the only place that they're not, not just Templeton, that they're not watering, so.
No, there's a faucet. If you plant a flower and it's dry, you can go to the faucet and get
That's
the
not-
water
oh, I
to
didn't know
water
that.
it. So when people buy flowers from me, they don't want them all wet in the back of their car. So they would take them to the cemetery. There's a little jug tied to the handle, but the water was off.
The water's off the wall. All cemeteries.
Separate item.
Would we like to, oh yeah, Would we like to make a motion and take a vote on that directive and asking that the town administrator kind of head the project as Doug has presented it to us, and then with obviously, if there is any consent needed, we could take it from there. Do I have a motion along those lines? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any further discussion?
We need to discuss, we'll need to discuss at our next meeting, the MBI broadband, because that will relate to the phones as well.
Okay.
We need to go out to bid as a town.
Okay.
To get that up
Gotcha.
and running.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? If not, we can vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes as well. Okay. The next issue that we have here, we have a few requests for transfers between and within accounts. The total amount of the transfers are $11,532.39. These are to cover, as was mentioned at town meeting, when we kind of took our shut down town government steps, there were various vendor warrants and whatnot that had not been paid yet, were sitting, waiting to be paid. That accounts for some of these, and then other ones of these are just other movements in between lines that are necessary to help us deal with the cash flow issue. To help us deal with the cash flow issue. Do we need any more discussion on these before I kind of read what they are? No, okay. So we have a move from auditing, which has a present balance of $12,766.22. Moving into technology account, the amount requested is $826.25 to pay utility bills that are due. And the reason for the request are our cash flow issues. These are bills that haven't been paid. The next is an auditing transfer. The present balance, as I said, in auditing is $12,766.22 to move into town building account. The requested amount is, town building expense account. The amount requested is $959.93. Also to pay utility bills, the reason for the request being the cash flow problems. And if this is denied, then the bill will not get paid. And then also to transfer from auditing, which again has a balance of $12,766.22 to the town council line. The amount requested is $9,746.21, which is to pay this bill. And the reason for the request is again, the cash flow problem. And the impact, if this is denied, is that we will not be paying the bill. Are there any, I would I would accept a motion to make these, that we approve these transfers if one is to be made.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
Can I just make a comment?
Yep, sure.
It's important to point out that there will be an audit of the fiscal 2014 year. Those funds are put into the fiscal 15 budget and will be paid out in fiscal 15, and that's really standard, so that given the shortage of cash, we're using the auditing account in the 14 budget as a cash cow here to help pay some bills and get us through the rest of this year.
And then just to fill everyone in on the process, then if we vote to make these requests, then they go to the advisory board for their approval as well. Yes?
What is the cost of an audit?
At the next meeting of the select board, I will have that cost. I was in communication with the auditing firm today. They are going to send us at the estimated cost, I would think, in the next day or two. I don't have it tonight.
Do you have like a ballpark idea?
Somewhere above $20,000 and probably under $30,000.
They say at the town meeting, there was items passed
Yeah.
for audits
Yeah.
without even knowing what it's gonna cost us.
Yeah.
Let's just go do it,
Well, I think it's important to do it, and to get everything out on the table. There'll be a management letter which examines practices that should be changed. And, I'm sure things will be said in the audit that will get into the headlines. But the importance is to get it out and to take corrective action.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion before we vote? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. And I won't hold everybody up, I'll sign these where they need to be signed after the meeting, give them right back to you if that's okay.
Did you see that letter?
Yes.
Okay.
There's also, we have here a letter, as Bob had mentioned, that our request was denied. I think that, and this letter basically lays out exactly that, why our situation is perfect for why they grant these kind of variances, where we've already approved the money. It's just a matter of time, we just have to get it built, we'll need the variance for less than a year. It's just kind of to fill that legal gap, to make sure that we comply with all state and federal handicap accessibility laws, particularly the ADA, in that interim time period, which will hopefully be a small one as we get that ramp built. So, and this is going to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Safety, their Architectural Access Board in Boston. And it's a one-page letter here. And with a vote of the board, I will, it has everyone's signature here. We can all sign this to send this if that's how we vote to do. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. First, pass it. So there is that. The next issue that we have on our agenda is the Board of Health permitting issues. I have been contacted, as I'm sure Holly and Bob have been as well, by various people in the community that are in need of Board of Health permitting issues and inspection issues, such as Title V. We know that there's the new, we just approved the license for the new restaurant in Baldwinville. Obviously, they will have inspections that will need to be completed prior to opening. So the reason that this is on the agenda is to discuss kind of possible solutions to this situation in the interim as we deal until the new fiscal year begins. Yes.
I called Anita, the town administrator in Hubbardston, and she wasn't able to call me back until literally just before I was coming to the meeting here today, and I asked her, the Board of Health happened to be meeting today, and would they be willing to offer services here for free, because we do not have the money, and it would only be like emergency things. Somebody couldn't call up and go, oh, well, I'll be selling my house 3 months from now, and I need my septic look. That's not what we're talking about. I talked to them about the restaurant. I talked to them, I've been called by 3 people for a property where a tight tank failed down near the Templeton Fish and Game, only because I happen to work with those real estate agents. So, I mean, again, I called her today, and she was away at something. But she said that she would speak to them and that she or someone else would call me tomorrow. I cannot speak for the whole board. I just wanted to make that phone call to them and at least ask if that was something that they're licensed, they know what they're doing. And again, I said that we would, they would have to probably go through, like the town administrator, because you don't want just people calling them. And I mean, she recognized that also, but she said that she was fully aware of what was going on in our town, and they had offered before to help us out. So she cannot speak for their board, she cannot, but definitely that somebody would call me, and then I would figure out, I forward that to you or to Holly, or, so hopefully they would say yes, but that was the only thing I could come up with.
And just following that up, I had several months ago dealt with Anita on a separate, as a lawyer, not as a selectman, and she was aware of, and this was like when we thought we had big problems, when we did not really know what was coming, and she had seen it in the paper and was asking some questions, and she had, made the kind of the general offer then that, if there was anything that maybe, obviously with approval of whoever needs to approve it in Hubbardston, but if, just kind of wanted to make an offer that if we ever came into an emergency situation, that she would be willing to kind of do what she can to assist us. So thank you for contacting her. And for those of you, which we voted on this at a public meeting, obviously, previously, but for those of you who may not be aware, we had voted to agree to accept an offer from Mr. Sweeney, who works for Gardner, correct? Is it Gardner? No. Oh,
He was
he's a Templeton, okay.
He's a Templeton,
He's a
right.
Templeton, who was willing to volunteer his time to, in the same kind of emergency situations, to do electrical inspections. I got one thing right there, to do electrical inspections for the town in this interim period while we're kind of in an emergency situation. So, yes, ma'am.
While you're switching over building department wiring
Sorry.
and electrical, I got a stack of mail that's coming into my office for these departments. There's checks, there's permits, there's certified receipts. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go because, I mean, I even had people calling me this week at my house, asking me what they needed for ground footage, putting in in-ground pools, putting in above-ground pools. What do I tell these people? Because I say wait till July 1st, and you can ride around town, and I'll tell you right now, I've got additions going on houses that don't have building permits. When Larry left his office 3 weeks ago, I have property that's got cement slabs down and wood sitting in their yard ready to build. So people call and ask, and if they don't get a response in 48 hours, they're gonna
They're
start
gonna do
building. So I mean, I'm not gonna be the police around town checking properties going up, but you do see them. So I just need to know where I'm supposed to direct these people because I got checks.
The board would approve, let me try and work something out tomorrow with Luann and others, because I can see what's happening here, and I don't have any answers right now, but we have to come up with some answers.
Okay.
You know, I'm getting, people are stopping me on the streets.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, and.
Me too.
I mean, what am I can't do anything, I can't.
I know you can't. I've been to 3 real estate closings in the last week, and every single one of them was what's going on in your town, and you're closed for business, and how do we get anything done? And I don't know what to say. I mean, again, you can't sell real estate, you can't, especially with a septic, you can't get a building permit, you can't, I can't get anything done right now either. So it's a huge concern. It's revenue, it's people moving here, it's people moving out, we're closed. You know, I mean,
We're losing a lot of money because of it.
we are losing a lot of money. I agree with you, but I agree.
Did not we have an agreement with the town of Winchton for an assistant health agent back there a couple of years ago?
I don't know.
Better start checking up. We had when they had the problem with them last time.
No, assistant health agent.
Huh?
Not that I recall, assistant health agent being. We created a position of assistant health agent in our own, but of course that don't mean nothing right now.
They had the guy from Winchton was gonna come down there and do some work because the tuna was on and stuff. They was on the
No,
water.
that's when we had Phil Ledger coming in as per diem. We
No.
had Phil doing it. And
He
then we
wasn't
had
doing it all
Phil
the
as
time.
our
Phil Ledger
assistant.
wasn't doing it all the time. Come on. You should be doing the work. You're the agent. You're the board of health.
Yep, sorry. We'll hear. Yeah, sorry.
Well, like I mentioned at the town meeting, that no one wanted to listen, that there was monies available, I don't wanna keep re-over and everything, to keep this town running, and I brought it up then, and it's biting us now, a week later. You're shutting business down in town, you're losing revenue, I said it, and I was threatened, that I was accused of threatening the town, I wasn't a threat, I was trying to tell everybody, you're losing revenue.
Right.
And there's a pocket full of stamp right there that are doing it. If they could have adjusted the money over to keep these 2 departments running, just a couple hours a week, you wouldn't have this. I don't know what you can do, and other than a volunteer coming into town who's licensed to do septic systems, you better not pay for any, because they'll be held to pay, I think. We're gonna open as soon as we can, July 1st, and try to come up with a plan. We're gonna have a meeting next week.
Yep.
To come up with some information, but trying to come up with a plan. I've been stopped numerous times myself. I don't know what the answer, I can't give them an answer, and that's not what they want to hear. And building inspector, everything. We got people wanting tight tanks in, they got people wanting septic tanks in, and then people calling me at my house saying I should step up and do it. 45 years ago, you might have been able to, my position made able to do that 45 years ago. I do not have the knowledge and the experience to do it. Diana, we paid her up until now to learn this, just like we did with Lori prior to that. Lori got all her studies in, and then you took $2 away from her 3 years ago and she left. Okay, we paid her to go to school. You guys talked about this, how we want to get everybody up to stuff and all legal, and then she walked out the door when you took money away from her. She's doing the same thing, we're building her up to learn this thing for whenever Phil or whoever retires and moves off, you have someone in place. That just got all blown out of the water. So, I don't know what we're gonna do about this, the town is still closed as far as I'm concerned, as far as any of this can be done until we have a health director in place, and we won't know anything until next meeting, next week, what we're gonna do.
I will say, don't tell anybody to call the DEP, because 2 people did and they said they can't help us, so
No,
don't
DEP,
don't
we
give
gotta
out
call
that.
it, Cheryl-
Somebody said have them
Cheryl
call,
Sabara
I can't
for
do
the-
that.
Attorney for DPH, and they're looking at us going, what? You
Yeah.
guys closed the Board of Health, what? And we haven't had a meeting to discuss this, but they're looking at this saying, you can't, they're trying to understand how we just did that, so it's not good.
Yes.
This is just another problem. I don't know why this person hasn't come to the select board. They asked me to take and present it. I said, this is really an issue with the select board. This issue was generally taken care of by the select board. It was brought to their attention. The fire department on this Saturday is going to have a burn on the Revere property on Sawyer Street. And they asked me, and I said, I can't, it's not my issue, I will bring it up to the board for you. But that, when we have a piece of property that's on the tax roll, whether it's tax taking, tax lien, or being that, they questioned me as to why we were allowing without the selectmen weighing in on this, that they could end up having training issue with the fire department, chief, and I don't, you know.
I can speak to that if you'd like to hear.
It's up to you folks to end up discussing that, because I haven't heard that at any meeting, because they asked me if it had been come up at a meeting, and I says, I haven't heard that, this is new to me.
Sure, I can speak to that. The process of a house burn, as they call it, training, a live burn we call it, is probably about a 6 to 8 month process. It was started about that long ago. It involves the DEP, it involves staff on our side. And I was asked if I was gonna shut it down when we got into the fiscal crisis. And I said, that type of live burn training is probably the best possible training you can get. So we talked to the guys, and all the guys that are gonna be on the training are doing it for free. There's no pay going out to them. We cut back the amount of vehicles we were gonna have on scene to just having a minimum amount of vehicles, and we've got other towns coming in with some of their equipment to support our equipment. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we've done everything we can to minimize any impact. If you get into the tax question on the house, I can't speak to that. The house was gonna be torn down one way or the other, and by burning it down, he's gonna save a little bit of money, and it's gonna give us a valuable training asset. And at a volunteer level, we can't get better than that.
You've done other live burns in town, correct?
It's no different when we did Jeannie's lunch, they didn't select the commission.
It didn't come to the board that I can recall, and I wasn't on the board at that time, but I do volunteer with the CERT team, and I don't recall that ever coming up, ever. And it does take a long time to plan something like that, and it is invaluable training. I'm not a fire department person, but on the CERT team, it's an amazing experience, so.
And this is town property?
No, it's private residence.
Oh, okay,
It's
well,
private.
yeah, I want to see it.
Nothing to do with us.
Yeah, that's why we have department heads to kind of make these decisions, and like you said, given the length of time that it takes to organize one of these things, to cancel it would be wasting more money than probably to start the whole process over than we would be to just be moving ahead, particularly if the individual
It
participating.
wouldn't be happening
so
this year if
volunteer.
we canceled it.
Right, right.
We burned down Lovell's Farm the first time, way up on the South Road.
Accidentally on purpose.
No, they burned that down where Floyd Ryder lived. Then they burned down where the Cumberland Farm is in East Emlyn, if you recall.
Cubby's house too, on South Road, they burned down
Yeah.
Cubby's house.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, when they did Jeannie's lunch.
Well, thank you for bringing us up and also being here to speak to
They
the
should have come to the board or call the board.
Right.
Why they call me, I have no idea.
Right. And the only thing that I can personally just say is, you know, at this point, now that we've kind of had we have had town meeting, both for the cuts that were implemented to finish out the rest of this fiscal year, and for the next fiscal year, particularly the ones that involve the month that's left in this fiscal year. You know, the town at town meeting has voted, and if we individually may not like having town departments shut down or whatnot, that it really is out of our hands in terms of, this was the decision that was made by the town. And people were made aware, so if people say, well, I had no idea this was happening, I mean, it's been in the paper for months that the town was gonna shut down. And if people thought we were just blowing smoke or crying wolf, then that was their choice. You know, this shutdown, I think, didn't take anyone by surprise. It's been kicked around for months, and the select board approved it, it was discussed at town meeting. So it's unfortunate if you're in a position where you need something done in this month-long time, but it's democracy, and the town voted to make these cuts, so we have no choice but to execute them as the executive branch of government. So is there anything else regarding this issue for now? And we will continue our efforts, I'm sure, as they roll in through the Board of Selectmen's office regarding if it should fall through in Hubbardston, we may want to look to possibly to Winchington or other neighboring communities. Again, and as Diane said, we're not talking about, at least I'm not talking about, I'm looking to sell my house in 3 months, I'd like to get my Title V taken care of now. Not that kind of thing, but emergency type situations. For instance, businesses that need someone to walk through for 10 minutes before they can open to take, final look at things. Those kind of situations that would really have a financial impact on someone. But is there a hand before I open my mouth?
In the back.
We're worried about the Board of Health. Our agent, he goes to Berry as a pre-diem. He takes care of Phillipston, takes care of Royalston, all these places. $63,000 a year from our town, how much is he getting from these other towns?
That's not our concern. When an individual,
he can go pre-dim at them other towns, why don't he take care of all the business in town?
well, it's not, again, he does not, the Board of Selectmen moves forward with the Board of Health in choosing individuals, putting together their contracts, and their pay is voted on at town meeting. So if the town voted, if you want to know why he gets $63,000, it's because a majority of the town approved him getting $63,000 at town meeting. That's why it's that way. So is there anything else? Okay, if not, sorry, well, yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was at the town meeting, the last town meeting. I asked a question regarding the Article 19, payment in lieu of taxes for a solar energy facility. I know this thing was voted by the selectmen. I think it was Julie, and I think you did, and that previous chairman. Because I asked the question, I have an interest, and I'd like to know what the status of this article now is, or that whole project.
Okay, this isn't an item that's on our agenda, so we won't be voting or taking any official action on it, but I don't think, if there's anyone that wants to answer any questions here, and I'll just repeat the same thing that I said at town meeting. And I actually have a voicemail from Representative Andrews that I didn't have time to listen to while I was drooling from my dental work before I came in today. But again, yes, we had voted, the Board of Selectmen had voted to approve that amount. Since that time, at that day, I was approached, and I believe Selectman Farrell was approached as well, by Representative Andrews, saying that it may be in the best interest of our community to pass over that article because, and I know that the situations are different, but that other communities, obviously she lives in Orange, so she knows most about Orange, but Orange was given $50,000 for the 20 years, whatever theirs was. I believe, is it Ashburnham or Westminster also got a larger amount. So she said, given that this is a 20 or 20-year commitment, it may be in the best interest of the town to skip over this. Well, because she informed us of that on Saturday, we didn't have time to do a full, obviously, investigation because it was up on the thing an hour or two later. So rather than commit the town to a 20-year deal, that we're stuck with for 2 decades, if she's telling me something, I personally, that's why we didn't vote no on it, we just voted to pass over it, or to make no motion, we tried to, but then a motion was made it was actually read, but we were just going to pass over it, so it would be something that we could look into, and, if there were extenuating circumstances, which there may be, as to why that figure is so much lower for Templeton's, the board would have the opportunity to look at that before signing the town up for a 20-year deal, which for me, that was the responsible thing to do. If it means having to put the issue off until our special that we'll have in a few months, as well, I'm assuming we will, because we always do in the fall, to put that issue back up, then that will be something that we may come right back with the 19,000. But I personally am assuming, or do assume, that my state rep, whoever it may be, who does this professionally, has probably a better understanding of neighboring communities and their pilot arrangements than I do, being a volunteer that can, devote maybe 20 hours a week to the position. So that was my choice. Again, because if it was like a 1-year thing or a 2-year thing, maybe even a 5-year thing, I would have thought, well, the board already voted it, I'm assuming that we did our due diligence then, but because it's a 20-year contract, I didn't feel comfortable with the state rep saying, well, I may have additional information that this is not in the best interest of the town. So that's why, I don't know if anyone else wants to speak, but that's why, and again, we didn't vote no on it. All we did was to vote to pass it over. We didn't vote to pass it over, we just made no motion on it. The motion was read, and then it got a vote because the motion was read.
You were talking a lot there, but I didn't get, I think the simple thing here is this Article 19, it's on the warrant. If this article would have passed, this whole solar facility system would have moved forward. But it did not pass the town meeting. All I'm asking is, what's the status now?
But it requires, when we also, I believe that, I don't know if it went through the assessor's office, did the pilot program come through the assessor's office? We were also told that that was a requirement, that the pilot program, that the pilot payment system, way back even when it was approved by the board, that part of what the law requires is that it go through the assessor's office, because obviously the assessor has the information on what the value is worth. That didn't happen either. So then when we find out about this, again, we did not vote no to it. We voted, there was no vote made. There ended up being one, but not by this board. So, to answer your question, the current status of where this is it requires town meeting approval to move forward. So until it gets town meeting approval, it will not move forward. So that's what the current status is. So like I said, we can put it on they can put it, whoever can put it back on the warrant again for our special in the fall, assuming that we have one. Then we can look at the issue and vote it then. And hopefully the issues regarding the amount of the 20-year commitment, and then also the requirement that it go through the assessor's office, whatever, and the representative could be completely wrong, that's fine, but those issues we can look at and determine those issues ahead of time. Again, we thought we were all hunky-dory moving forward, but for your state rep to approach you and tell you that, I would feel that it would be irresponsible to make a commitment to this town that might outlive me, so,
Let me interrupt you for 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What does the state rep have to do? What